Hello, I'm Esther Gidhu-Ewart. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up.
Security forces in Comoros respond with tear gas and arrests after groups angered by the re-election of President Azali Assoumani tried to block roads in the capital. The 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit is ongoing in Uganda, where delegates are addressing a wide range of issues, including terrorism and climate change. And good coding skills are more crucial than ever in today's rapidly evolving digital environment. Technology correspondent Paul Ndiho speaks to a US-based tech entrepreneur. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54.
The situation remains tense in Comoros off of Africa's eastern coast. Security forces responded with tear gas and arrests on Wednesday after groups angered by the re-election of President Azali Assoumani, with nearly 63% of the vote, tried to block roads in the capital. Opposition leaders are demanding that the presidential election be declared void. Debris and burning tires were scattered on several streets of Moroni. The Indian Ocean Archipelago's largest street market was deserted on the morning after the disputed poll results were announced. A government spokesperson is accusing the opposition, which has denounced former military ruler Assoumani's elections win as a fraud, of organizing the protests. There have been no reports of violence, but the Comoros, a three-island chain that is home to 870,000 people, is politically volatile and has endured 20 coups or attempted coups since its independence from France in 1975. The governor of Nigeria's Oyo State says that explosives stored in a private home detonated, killing at least 2 people and injuring dozens more. Video shot by an eyewitness shows badly damaged buildings and vehicles around the Bodija district in Ibadan as panicked residents stood in the streets. Governor Seyi Makinde says initial investigations revealed that illegal miners occupying a house in Bodija had stored explosive devices there that caused the blast. The governor says search and rescue operations are ongoing, and the state government will provide temporary accommodation for those who lost their homes. Nigeria's inflation rate rose to its highest in more than 27 years in December as food prices surged, exacerbating a cost of living crisis and piling more pressure on the central bank to raise interest rates. Timothy Obiezu has more from Abuja.
The Statistics Office said in its report on Monday that headline inflation hit 28.9% in December, the highest level in nearly 3 decades. Rising costs of food is the main reason cited by authorities for the increase, but analysts say the government's scrapping of fuel subsidy last May increased transport costs and also impacted on commodity prices.
When the rate of inflation, when inflation is high, there are so many things involved. Crimes increase, so many things. I advise the government to do the right thing. They know the right thing, so instead of us talking, they know the right thing. They just do the right thing. Let them implement things who favor the masses, people that put them there in that position. So they just do the right thing. So that's the only thing.
The food inflation in Nigeria is coming 6 months after President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency on food security. The latest headline inflation marks an increase of 0.72% when compared to the rate the month before. On a year-on-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 7.58% higher compared to December of 2022. Bola Tinubu embarked on bold economic reforms upon assuming office in a bid to fix Nigeria's economy. Under one of the policies, authorities eliminated the rate cap on the Nigerian currency, the naira, at the foreign exchange market, with the stated aim of managing Nigeria's foreign exchange resources and stabilizing the local currency. But the naira has lost more than 30% of its value since then, and many citizens are feeling the cash squeeze.
I came to Taco Market here to buy 1 or 2 things for my parents. So when I came here, I see the inflation, the increase, most especially in the food stuff. And you know, in a country, the food is major problem, because when the food is increasing, we normally experience the hardship.
Really, the inflations of the country is really affecting me directly, because if you look at the cost of the things in the market, almost every day it rises, and the economic is not, the money is not in circulation as the way is expected. So the cost of the things in the market is really affecting us, because there is no money to purchase what is expected from the citizen.
Analysts predict the pressure could worsen in the coming months and could exacerbate a cost of living crisis for the more than 200 million Nigerian citizens. And also they predict it could mount pressure on the central bank to raise interest rates. Timothy Obiezu, VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
The 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit in Kampala, Uganda has wrapped up day 3 Wednesday with officials addressing issues of regional and global security. Kenyan Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi told the summit that the United Nations is failing in its role as an instrument of peace.
The United Nations-based multilateral system is unable to deliver sustainable peace, stability, and development to all in the face of increased polarization. Consequently, the worsening effects of pervasive armed conflicts and other multiple multifaceted threats to international peace and security, including the climate crisis, are reverberating through declining social, economic, and humanitarian situations across the world.
That was Kenyan Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. For insight into the 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit in Kampala, I'm joined from here in Washington by Paul Ndiho, a research specialist at the Africa Center for Strategic Studies and an accredited observer for the Non-Aligned Movement. Paul, explain to us why this organization, first of all, is referred to as non-aligned.
Good morning. Good morning, Esther, and thank you for having me on my show. This non-aligned movement is rooted in a series of meetings that were held at the beginning of the Cold War by a number of global South countries that wanted to strike an independent path, a path whereby they did not align themselves with either of the two blocs, the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc. But in reality, the non-aligned movement evolved into an organization that was more friendly ideologically to the Eastern side. And that's because it is rooted in three main principles: the principle of anti-colonialism, anti-apartheid, and anti-imperialism. So in reality, this organization was actually less friendly to the Western powers. Mm-hmm. And you can see a lot of that in what the delegates are saying in Kampala right. At this summit.
Paul, there are so many global challenges that are being addressed by this organization in Kampala, but what really comes to mind as priority issue that these nations need to address and resolve?
Esther, there are three. Of course, the non-aligned movement has a whole range of programs covering health, covering anti-terrorism, money laundering, and that sort of thing, particularly within the global South and between it and the global North. But Esther, the three core issues that we've heard since the meeting started on Monday, the one is global system reform. There is almost unanimity that there needs to be a change in the global system, in the current international system, and in particular the reform of the United Nations. So very, very clear proposals have been advanced in that perspective. The second issue, Esther, is Gaza. So the Gaza crisis has really taken all the oxygen out of the various plenary sessions and the closed sessions. And I think what we're definitely going to see is a unified approach and a consensus position on the issue of Gaza. There's a sense, as the Kenyan foreign minister said in his remarks, there's a sense that the international architecture has not been responsive enough in dealing with the crisis in Gaza. So I think these are the two issues. Then the third issue is trade and investment. and reducing tariff barriers within and among Global South countries.
Paul,
those are the three issues, Esther.
Right. Paul, because we're running out of time, I just want to know what's in this summit for Africa very quickly.
I think Africa has a lot to gain from these groupings. One, African countries have always tried to maximize their representational strength at the international level. And so this is one thing that African countries are going to be pushing. Secondly, the non-aligned movement exists in many different, many different organizations like the South Commission based in Geneva, the Africa-Asia Solidarity Organization based in Cairo, and the African Union itself. So this is going to be absolutely key. And one of the things that one sees, Esther, is that this particular summit, the African side has really come forth with very coordinated positions on very specific asks that they're putting forward to the Asian and to the Latin America group.
Right. Paul, many thanks for your insight into this. Paul Ndiho is a research specialist at the Africa Center for Strategic Studies and an accredited observer for the non-aligned movement.
Thank you very much, Esther.
Excitement is building as teams battle it out in the Africa Cup of Nations tournament ongoing in Ivory Coast. VOA's Mukbil Yabaro is in Abidjan. Hello, Mukbil.
Hey, Esther, how you doing?
Good. Have there been any upsets in the game so far?
If I were to pick one, it would have to be Namibia versus Tunisia. Just looking at the discrepancy in the world rankings, nobody, I don't think outside of the Namibian fan base expected them to pull that off, but they played an extremely good game. It wasn't a lucky type of game. So I'm really proud to say that I was able to witness a game of that caliber from a team that many didn't expect to be able to pull off such a big one. So to me, that's the biggest upset. I would say a close second would be Cape Verde versus Ghana, where Cape Verde was able to defeat Ghana 2-1. Ghana being one of the bigger teams historically in Africa, dominating the continent on the sport, just didn't really showcase the class that people may have expected, and Cape Verde actually exceeded it, and they were able to get the job done.
You know, there are always somebody who stands out. Which team stood out and caught your attention?
Yeah, absolutely. The two that I just mentioned for sure were standouts. But I would have to also then go to Senegal and say that Senegal really showcased as to why they are the defending champions of Afcon in their first game against Gambia, showing us the level by which they're playing at. Another team, I would say Ivory Coast, showed high quality in the opening ceremony game, as well as Mali. Mali came out against South Africa earlier on in the game. South Africa was awarded a penalty kick, which they missed, but that didn't it kind of didn't really faze Mali at all. And they were still able to kind of stay the course and get the job done. 2-0 victory over South Africa for them yesterday.
Mukbil, there's a lot of anticipation today because Tanzania is going to face Morocco in a big match today. What are the predictions?
It's very difficult to go up against Morocco, just considering what they were able to do in the World Cup in Qatar. They, went as far as the quarters. So a team like that is very, very difficult. They actually went to the semis, actually. I'm sorry to say, my mistake. But yeah, these two teams also, Esther, recently faced off in the World Cup qualifiers not too long ago, where Morocco defeated Tanzania 2-0. But hey, that was just one match, and it was just put that in the past and have Tanzania come out and play what it is that they can do, the level of game that they know that they can play. Who's to say that they can't win? 90 minutes, that's all it is, Esther, 90 minutes.
90 minutes, and you have a lot of fans behind you. Who are they rooting for today? I see some very young ones right there.
I would say pretty much everyone around here in this area, in particular, Central Abidjan, known as Bobo, has shown that they are Ivorians through and through. That is their team. Their team was able to get the first win in the opening ceremony. So I'm sure they will be excited as Ivory Coast goes up against the Super Eagles of Nigeria tomorrow. So, you know, that's another big game. If we're just going to touch on that right quickly.
Yeah.
Nigeria ended up in a draw in their first game. Not what they were expecting. So I definitely think that they will also come out very, very physical, very strong, early to try to get some extra points and get that win against Ivory Coast. But Ivory Coast will not make it easy.
Right. Mukbil.
They have played excellent. Yep.
Right. Thank you so much, Mukbil, for the update. We'll be back tomorrow. VOA's Mukbil Yabaru reporting live for us from Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Still to come, teaching women in Africa coding skills. Stay with us.
This week on Straight Talk Africa, Houthi militants attack commercial vessels in Red Sea, threatening vital shipping routes. The US and Britain retaliate with airstrikes on Houthi military targets. How will this affect the global economy? Join me, Vincent Makori, for an in-depth discussion on the next Straight Talk Africa.
Substance abuse, including alcohol and illicit drugs, negatively impact those who abuse them, their families and society, often with serious health and financial consequences. On this week's episode of Our Voices, we will discuss women surviving alcoholism and substance abuse. We will also hear from women and medical specialists. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
In other news, a Kenyan judge has ordered cult leader Paul Mackenzie and 30 associates to undergo mental health evaluations before being charged with the murder of 191 children. Authorities say Mackenzie, the head of the Good News International Church, ordered his followers in southeastern Kenya to starve themselves so that they could go to heaven before the world ended. The United Nations Children's Fund is praising Zimbabwe for raising the legal age of sexual consent from 16 to 18, a move that children's rights groups hope will deter predators. President Emmerson Mnangagwa used a statutory instrument last week to raise the age of consent. Violators could spend 10 years in jail. And London-based oil and gas giant Shell has reached an agreement with a consortium of companies to sell its onshore business in Nigeria's Niger Delta for $2.4 billion. The assets that Shell is selling are largely owned by the Nigerian government's national oil company, NNPC, which holds a 55% stake. An automated restaurant is opening this month in Pasadena, California. Kali Express will be serviced by robots that make food in the kitchen and artificial intelligence that takes orders. The only job humans will need to do is assemble and pack the food. Angelina Bagdasarian has the story narrated by Anna Rice.
While one robot is making fries, another one is making hamburgers after prepping them.
In the back, there's a refrigerator that has chunks of meat. So it fresh grinds every single patty and forms it to order.
The first fully automated restaurant in the world is opening in Pasadena. Robots that can remember faces will take customer orders and handle payments. The cherry on top, there's no need to leave tips. What's more, owners say it's a revolutionary breakthrough in safety, as slippage and burns can be nearly eliminated and waste reduced in both food and oil.
We're really focused on the restaurant space. If you think about the restaurant space, it's, they don't have the best technology. It's not really the same as the tech industry. It's the area really that technology left behind.
Restaurant management says the robots are perfect workers. No special requests, no raised demands. And although the amount in maintenance costs is not fully known yet, the owners don't anticipate these to be significant.
We're talking about 5 to 6 people per shift, down to 1. So that's, an 80% savings?
Saving money is the big driver behind the push to introduce robots to the workforce. In 2023, California Governor Gavin Newsom raised the minimum wage for fast food restaurant workers to $20 an hour, a wage you don't have to pay robots.
one argument on the part of employers who were against the proposition to elevate the minimum wage for fast food workers was that that was going to make it more expensive for them to operate, and they were going to look for ways to cut costs.
Gaspar Rivera Saldago is with the UCLA Institute for Research on Labor and Employment. Rivera Saldago says raising the minimum wage was an attempt to get workers into the fast food business. Lomelino acknowledges that robots are a way to avoid paying that higher wage, but says the robots are doing jobs many people don't want.
But the truth of the matter is, even paying $20 an hour in Pasadena, I will have a hard time hiring enough staff to work here in this restaurant.
While customers might enjoy the novelty of being served by a robot, Saldago says there are tech issues and that more importantly, people like talking to people.
Employees complain that, they have to monitor these automatic machines because they tend to fail a lot. People end up wanting to talk to a human being because they know that human beings can process more complex requests.
Robots already play huge roles in the manufacturing industry, and inevitably, robotics will infiltrate more and more industries over time. But it remains to be seen if the world is ready for a robot to wait on them and a robotic chef. Frangilina Bagdasaran in Los Angeles, NRI's VOA News.
Good coding skills are more crucial than ever in today's rapidly evolving digital environment. A U.S.-based tech entrepreneur, Afia Owusu-Fofie, has made it her mission to empower individuals in underserved regions with essential computer and programming skills. Here's Africa 54 tech correspondent Paul Ndiho with more.
Thanks, Esther. That's right. Afia Owusu-Fofie, the founder and CEO of Coders Who Travel Inc., a non-for-profit organization, works closely with local tech communities to make a meaningful impact. Afia's commitment to bridging the digital divide and fostering a sense of empowerment through technology is truly inspiring. Her mission is changing lives, one line of code at a time. Welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you, Paul.
You are one of those remarkable ladies. You've been on a journey to empower hundreds or if not thousands of young women across Ghana and here in the United States. Maybe let's start there.
I started with an initiative that I launched, a branch of a global organization called Women Who Code. So I took the first West African chapter to Ghana. In the immediate past year, we launched 2 coding boot camps, one on SaaS and SaaS via, with 3 experts who became core instructors for 1 month each, and 2 guest lecturers who brought context to industry related problems so students could apply what they had learned in a final project presentation to 2 Deloitte judges. We focus on women, we focus on U.S. military veterans, we also focus on college students, and we focus on career professionals. And so far, we've targeted all those blocks. We certainly could do more awareness about these blocks so they are aware that Coders Who Travel has figured it out and is able to assist people pick up coding knowledge in primarily SAS and SAS via R, Python. And very soon in this year, we plan to run an SQL, structured query language bootcamp that will run from February to May.
Can any average person get into these programs, or you have to have special skills, special coding skills?
I would say the backgrounds have ranged from people that have been in leadership, organization, management, to people that are in mathematical sciences. If you have a can-do spirit and are really committed to getting over the learning curve, because all these coding languages, I wish I would say they were easy, but they are not easy. So there's that learning curve. And so if you're able to commit yourself to getting over that initial shock and learning curve, then really, if you're good with computers and you know your way around, you should be able to be part of our programs.
You talked about how you have a special focus on women. Traditionally, or in the places where you are trying to operate, go to any of these hubs in Ghana or even in the government or private sector, you don't see a lot of women scientists, women coders, women engineers. Do you think this kind of program that you're trying to take back home can improve women who are trying to aspire to become scientists or coders?
Yeah, so when I started Women Who Code Accra in 2015, that was very much my narrative, that this was a women project done by women for women. But we soon realized that most of the women that are doing well usually have men in their support network, fathers, husbands, boyfriends, friends who have either spoken into their lives to spur them on. So Coders Who Travel now focuses on about 65% women and about 35% men, recognizing the need and the expertise and observations we've received through several focus group discussions for students, faculty, and C-suite executives that we run.
How about for young people, especially young university students? How important are these skills?
It's very important, particularly for those that are pursuing math, statistics, operations research, computer science, economics, geography, geology. I mean, the list is endless. Once you have coding, you can harness and obtain data that is permeating your industry, so it's very, very important. I'm a trained statistician, but next to statistics, what has really been a game changer in my career was learning to code. So I think everybody should consider coding very seriously.
You are a remarkable lady. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul.
Afia Osu Fafie is the founder and CEO of Coders Who Travel Incorporated. That's today's Tech Report. Back to you, Esther.
Paul, thanks. Be sure to join Paul Ndiho every Wednesday for another tech segment right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.